Namo Nui Savayantam, Namo Nui Savadam, Namo Nui Savairiyam, Namo Nui Savajayam, Namo Nui Savadivavati Savanam, Omkara Mindu Sanyukta Nityam Jayanti Yogina, Kamadam Mokshadam Sri Omkara Namo, Mangalam Bhagavanu Mangalam Uttamam, Mangalam Kunkundari Ujendra Musa Mangalam Namasamastara. Swanubhutya Jatasti Swadhay Bhavaya Vivaho Yusanidata.
Om Namo Loe Sarvatrikavarti Aryantanam. Om Namo Loe Sarvatrikavarti Siddhanam. Om Namo Loe Sarvatrikavarti Aryanam. Om Namo Loe Sarvatrikavarti Vajjayanam. Om Namo Loe Sarvatrikavarti Savanam. Om Karam Bindu Sanyuktam Nityan Dhayanti Yoginam Kamadam Mokshadam Chaiva Om Karaya Namo Nama Namah Samaysaraya Swanu Bhutya Chakasate Chitsabhavaya Bhavaya Sarva Bhavantarachide Agnanati Mirandanam Gana Anjana Salakaya Chaksaran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Tirthankaro Jagatana Jaivantavarto Omkaranad Jinano Jaivantavarto Jinana Samo Sarana Sau Jaivantavarto Ne Tirthachara Jagama Jaivantavarto Namo e Tirthanayakane Namo Omkaranadane Omkara Sangarotene Namo Te Sri Kunda Kundane Aho Upakara Jinavarano Kundano Dvani Divyano Jina Kunda Dvani Yapya Aho Te Guru Kanano Aho Te Bhagavati Matano Dhruva Achalane Anupamagati Pamel Sarve Siddhane Vandi Kahun Sutta Kevali Bhasita Asamaya Prabhrata Are Om Eka Suddha Sada Arupi Jnana Darshanamay Khare Kai Anyate Maru Jari Paramanu Matra Nathi Are Yamanetra Tema Jnana Nathi Karaka Nathi Vedaka Are Jani Jakhara Modaya Nirajara Bandhate Majamokshane Om Namah Siddhebhyo, Om Namah Siddhebhyo, Om Sri Suddhatmane Namaha. Jai Jindra. Today is April 27, 2016, Wednesday, and we are continuing our Swadhay on Samaysar. So far, we have discussed about 7 stanzas in Samaysar. Basically, we already have established our base that what Samaysar wants us to know about and why it is mentioned that it's entirely different from the other scriptures. We have gone through it, so we have pretty good idea what it is. And in each stanza, we went in absolute greater detail about what Gurudev Sri Kanji Swami gave the discourses on each stanza when he did the, when he read the scripture, when he gave the discourses. He gave the discourses on Samaysar for 45 years non-stop. Not a single day out of those 45 years that there was no reading of Samaysar. He loved it so much. Every day for 19 years non-stop, he kept on reading Samaysar stanzas. And he kept on explaining us in the absolute detail about it. And that's why we know all those things. We have all this material with us, and we are about, that's the reason we know all these things. So what is happening? When we go in absolute detail, the way Gurudev Sri has gone, and what we are basically going through is a 19th time when Gurudev Sri read the Samaysar, we are referencing to that one. This was in 1978 to 1980, 2.5 years. Each time he will read, each time he will give discourses, each time Gurudev Kanji Swami will give discourses, it will last for about 2.5 years on an average. And he gave absolute detail in each and every stanza. So that's what we did. And at the same time, we don't want to get bogged down into those details that we just forget that what is this Samaysar about. So far, what we have learned, we can just talk in a kind of a very nutshell. The very first stanza was the preamble. It's called Mangalacharan. Anytime any scripture is been mentioned, that's a tradition in the Indian philosophy and especially in Jain philosophy, that beginning 1 or 2 or 3 stanza, whatever stanza it takes, the author, the enlightened soul, he will just say what you are going to learn from this scripture. Samaysar being scripture with 415 stanza that Acharya Kunkun Swami wrote down about 2000 years back, about 500 years after Mahavir Swami obtained nirvana. So when Kunkun Swami was there was no omniscient Lord. So he did not have direct contact with the omniscient Lord. But him being the monk at the very, very, very high spiritual level, that he also had some added extraordinary capacities. Some of the monks, when they are extremely highly spiritual, they do have certain extraordinary capacities. So there are several capacities are described in the literature. So Kunkun Swami had a capacity in which he can walk into the space. So he did go from our area, which is called Bharat Kshetra, and he went to Mahavir Kshetra, which is basically impossible for any normal human being to pass through. There are no planes, or there are no rockets, so nothing is there. He went there, he stayed for 8 days, and he listened to the discourses of Simandar Swami. When we go through the Jain geography somewhere along the line, we will know what is Bharat Kshetra, means area of Bharat. What is Mahavir Kshetra, means area of Mahavidya. What are those distances and all those things? We'll be knowing, but right now for our purpose, it's an extremely far, far, far distance. Nobody can cross. And he did go there, stayed for 8 days, listen to the discourses from Simandar Swami, who is the omniscient Lord at present right now. In the Mahavir Kshetra, there are 20 omniscient Lords right now existing. And Simandar Swami being the closest from us, that Kunkun Swami went there and listened to the discourses. And then he also discussed with the other ordinary omniscients that they were there. He got all his questions answered, and now he learned everything from omniscient Lord's messages. So that's why his knowledge is been said to be directly coming from the omniscient Lord's message. Even though he did not have a chance to be in Mahavir Swami's Samasaran, he was able to go there. Now, this interesting thing happens there, that there is one in Simandar Swami's Samasaran. There are two friends are there. One is a son of a very wealthy business person, and the second one was his friend. They also used to go to listen to these discourses in Simanda Swami Samaysar. They have seen Kunkun Swami when Kunkun Swami went to Mahavya Kshetra. Those two people, those two friends, incidentally end up taking birth in our era in India, in Gujarat state, and they were Gurudev Sri Kanji Swami, and his ardent follower is Mataji Champaben. So those two souls that they were here right now, they also were present in a Mahavya Kshetra 2000 years back, and they have seen Kunkun Swami. Now, one may ask question that, wait a second, these are all kind of stories and tales and everything. Is there any basis for them? Yes, there are basis for them. Why? The Champaben, the lady who was the disciple of Gurudev Sri Kanji Swami. Gurudev Sri Kanji Swami had a Samyak Darshan, and Champaben, the lady, she also had a Samyak Darshan, enlightenment. On top of it, Champaben also had something called Jati Smaran Gnan. Jati Smaran Gnan means, excuse me, I remember what I ate yesterday, what I did yesterday, 6 months back, 1 year back, 5 years back, 10 years back, or when I was a small child. I remember those things. But I don't remember anything besides this life only. Some people with extraordinary capacities, they can have a sharpness of the knowledge that they can also witness the previous lives. Not only this life, but previous lives. So, Champaben had a Jati Smaran Gnan, means the knowledge of the previous lives, and also had the enlightenment. And in her knowledge from previous lives, she realized, we remember those days 2000 years back when she and Gurudev Sri Kanji Swami, they were friends and they were going to the Samaysar or for Simanda Swami. Champaben, we call her Mataji Champaben. She had so much remembrance from the previous life that one time she became extremely sad and stopped eating and all kind of things. And somebody asked Mataji, what's happening? She won't say anything. But then one day she said, you know what? I was witnessing the suffering from the hell that I had gone through before. And that made me depressed so much that I stopped, I forgot about eating and everything, because it was very disgusting and very, very shameful thing that I remember all those things about the pains from the pain and suffering from the hell, you know. While we are talking about Champaben and Gurudev Sri Kanji Swami, there is also another personality of our time, Srimad Rajchandraji. We remember him today because today is his day that he left this mundane body over here, and his soul left the body. Today is the Samadhi day. Srimad Rajchandraji, his soul left the body today. Chaitravat Pancham. He also, at age of 7 years, he also had a Jati Smaran Gnan, Means he also end up realizing his previous lives, previous 700 lives or something like that. How did he do it? This 7-year-old child, in there is neighborhood, there was a person called Amit Chand Bhai. And suddenly everybody started crying and all the thing. And he said, what happened? Remember, 7-year-old child. So there was a snake bit Amit Chand Bhai, and Amit Chand Bhai ended up dying with this poison. Everybody's crying and all the things. So this small child, 7-year-old child, remember, he says, what has happened? What is happening? So they say, oh, this small child will get confused and everything. So they say, go back, don't worry. He realized something has happened. Then right away, they put the dead body and they tie it, and then they are taking the body for the crematory. This child, inquisitive child, kept on hiding behind and kept on going with the whole group that was taking the body of the Amit Chand Bhai to the crematory. He did not go all the way to the crematory place, but nearby there was one dry tree, kind of cactus type of tree, not cactus, but something like that, you know. So it's called bawal tree, you know. So he went on it, and now he started seeing what is happening. They put the body, and then they put a fire. Body started burning, and he said, wait a second. This person was talking and smiling and laughing hour before, and now he's getting burned and nothing happens to him. He went, 7-year-old child, remember, 7-year-old child went in deep reflections. And at that time, right there and there, he obtained Jati Smaran Gnan, means knowledge from the previous 700 lives. So we have the examples of all these things in the literature. So these are not the created stories or anything. They are the facts. If somebody doesn't want to believe, it's that his problem. You know, we don't have to worry about it. But these are the recorded fact right now in our lifetime. Okay. So Kunkun Swami was there in a Samosaran of Simandhar Swami, Lord Simandhar Swami, Omniscient Lord Simandhar Swami. After coming back, he created Samaysar. He created Samaysar, Pravachansar, Niyamsar, Astapahud, Panchastika. He created lots of scripture, but these 5 are available to us today. There was nothing like any writing papers and computers and iPads and all kind of things. There were dry palm leaves that he will, the area where he was in the southern India, that dry palm leaves, and he was moving around in the mountainous area. He will take those palm leaves and he will keep in one hand, and with the needle of the palm leaf, he will keep on writing the scriptures. While in his hand he has a palm tree and he's putting the needle through the palm leaf, he also will get a bleeding. If you see Kunkun Swami's Chitrapat any place, Kunkun Swami's picture anywhere, you will see that he's sitting naked, Digambar monk with the folded legs, and he appears to be writing. Kathy, when you go to temple, when you have the second picture in the Guru Mandir, what we have it, that's a Kunkun Swami's picture, that he's writing this Samaysar there. Kathy is there on the line, that's why I'm talking to her. Yeah, okay, anyway. So, these are the things written. So, now this Samaysar, we went up to 7 stanzas. What does the meaning? First one was a preamble, that he respects the liberated souls. Second stanza, he said, right away, he comes to the point. he doesn't want to waste the time. So second stanza onward, he kind of gives us kind of flavor for the subject and says, if the soul is getting engrossed within himself, that's a best thing. If the soul is engrossed in the alien objects of the universe, then it is not a right thing. Then in the third stanza, he mentions, let's see, third stanza. The soul has a relationship with the alien object since time infinite. So it appears to be very easy for soul to be in that state. It appears to be. Soul has never got, the transmigrator soul never got engrossed in his own self. So it said that it's difficult, which is not, but it appears to the soul like that. Having said that, in the fourth stanza, he says that everybody has talked about the story of the bondage, how soul gets bonded, what happens to soul, how it goes to transmigration, how much he gets suffering into the hell, how much enjoyment he gets into heaven and everything. All those things are mentioned. Nobody has talked about the nature of the soul. In fifth stanza, he said, now I'm going to talk about the nature of that soul, which is a pure. And then he gives several conditions that he talks all these things. Number one, he listened from the omniscient Lord. He has also followed the first disciple of the omniscient Lord. In the lineage of the first disciple, several Acharya Bhagwan came, several monks came, and I followed them. And fourth condition, I also have experienced the same thing. And that's why I'm writing this one. It's up to you to accept it or not to accept. It's not my problem. Having said all those things, now he says, I'm going to tell you the story of the soul which has bondage, which can remove the bondage and can be free and can go to liberation. These are the basis that he builds it up. And now he comes to sixth stanza and seventh stanza. The sixth and seventh stanza basically becomes the heart of the Samaysar, and that's why we took a very, very long time. Because from this heart of this, from the basis that we have built it up, now it's going to tell us how Acharya Kunkun Dev tells us to get liberated from the bondage and go to the innate state. So in sixth stanza, he says, listen, we have the association. Soul has association with the alien objects. But it is pretty well known that this recorder is an alien object. Even though I say it's mine, the alien object, that's pretty well seen. If this pen, for example, if this phone is an alien object, yes, it's pretty well known. House is an alien object. My body is an alien object. My shirt is we know that part. So he said that those are the things been mentioned by lots and lots and lots of people in the past. Now I'm going to go to nitty-gritty thing. He enters the soul. He wants us to do the Ved Gnan, means discriminative science. Discrimination from the alien objects. What are those alien objects? He doesn't say that my house is an alien object, my car is an alien object, my body is he doesn't talk. He said those things are known to you, so I don't have to talk about it. The thing which you have never heard, that's what I'm going to talk. So now he enters the soul. He comes to the end, he comes to the kingdom of soul. And now he analyzes what is this soul made up of. Then he says soul is made up of soul substance, infinite attribute within, and each attribute having the transformation, modification, time to time to time to time, continuously, forever. This is the subject. This is what the soul is. Now it goes to soul substance, having infinite attributes, and the modifications, means modes, means paryay. So first he goes to paryay in the 6th stanza. He says, the paryay, modification, modes, transformation occurring into the soul substance. They're transient in nature because they last for one samay. One samay, one moment. One moment means in the blink of an eye, 10 raised to 49 and beyond time units pass by. And so that modification is that kind of a microscopic. And that one lasts only for one samay, momentarily, and get lost. If I look at that modification alone, that is not my nature. My nature is eternal nature. I'm the eternal, non-perishable, and mode, transformation, paryay, modification, they are perishable. They arise and they get destroyed. They arise, they get destroyed. That's not my nature. That's what Kunkun Swami said in the 6th stanza. After saying that I'm not the mode, but actions occur in the mode. Soul substance, infinite attributes within, they are inert. They don't react to anybody. They are there for time infinite. They will remain there for time infinite. No changes are seen in the soul substance and attribute. Remember, we have entered into the soul's periphery, soul's kingdom, and now we are talking. We are not from outside. We are inside now. So, soul substance, inert, attributes, inert, modification is a change is seen. And in that changes, there is reflection of all the alien objects of the universe. Plus, the eternal soul substance get illuminated. So illumination occurs in the modification, in the mode, in the transient mode. But again, that's a transient mode only. That is not my nature. My nature is an eternal soul substance. So in the 6th stanza, he refutes. He refutes and he makes modes as a secondary, even though action is occurring in the mode only. My knowing capacity in the mode, my faith capacity in the mode, my conduct happening, it happens in the mode. But he makes them secondary and makes the eternal soul substance primary. This is the heart of the 6th stanza. 6th stanza say that my mode is transient, action occurs there, but again, that's not me. Remember, I come to my house and
Kirit uncle?
Yes.
Kirit uncle, you're saying that the mode is not the Atma?
Remember what I'm saying? Mode is a part of the Atma, but because it's transient, so even while I'm entering into the Atma, I make them secondary. I know that they are there, but I don't pay attention to them. My attention has to be eternal soul substance only.
Because the modifications, the mode is not inert.
They are not
active.
Inert because there are actions occurring.
Because it's
only action occurring, but they're transient in nature. And I'm not transient. I'm the eternal soul substance. So within the structure, you just say, that my mode, even though it is my own, but because it's transient, so I'm going to make it secondary in nature. Even though in a family situation, the father is there, mother is a housewife, and kids are there. So yes, kids are part of the family. But when you're talking, when the decision making comes and everything, the head of the family, that he or she makes the decision. And at that time, kids are made secondary, even though they are part of the family. Same way here. I'm in the soul. I'm looking at the soul substance. I'm looking at the attributes. I'm looking at the modes. I'm making modes as secondary, even though they are present.
But when you say they're present and part of your mode, part of your atma, right?
Yeah.
It's not a part of the body. It's not a matter particle. The modes are part of your atma.
Yes. See, this is the soul, and this is the matter, right? So
yeah.
If I'm looking from outside, then this is the whole thing together as one.
Okay.
But now when I enter the soul substance here, and I say, okay, what are you made up of? That I'm made up of, the soul says, I'm made up of substance, attribute, and modes. And out of those three things, Kunkun Swami says, you make the modes also secondary. That's a sixth stanza.
Oh, okay.
Okay, now, having said that, that's a sixth stanza he said. And he also explained about the eternal soul substance, how the knowledge how the knowing action occurs. That we went in a great detail with the picture of the peacock and the mirror and all those things. Having said that, now he comes to seventh stanza and he says, you know what? When you're in the soul substance, and I told you modes, even though action occurs in modes, I told them to make it secondary. Now he comes to the attribute. And in attribute, when he comes and says, there are infinite attributes present, but those infinite attributes are present in the indivisible form into the soul substance. They cannot be divided. They are not having module that I can take the knowledge module out and the faith module out, conduct module out. They are not like that. If you take one out, everything will come out. So here, seventh stanza, in the sixth stanza, he started with the modes and said, modes are also not my eternal true nature. They are mine, but they're transient in nature. Then he comes to the attribute and says, infinite attributes also in the divisional form is not my nature. It has to be considered on the indivisible pattern only. And that's the seventh stanza. So in sixth and seventh stanza, he built up the case saying that one has no other refuge except for eternal soul substance. So all those things, this thing, and now he comes to eighth stanza. That's where we are here. So let's start with the eighth stanza, okay? If there is any question up to now, you can stop. We can just ask a question. We can just go through it. But we have gone through an extreme great length about all these things. So you are pretty well aware of it. What I want to do is I want to maintain the flow of all the stanza, that how they are interrelated to each other. Okay. So I'll go to these slides right now. Share the screen. And okay, so here comes the Samaysar, stanza 8. We'll be reading the stanza first, and then we'll just go through rest of the things. Jahana vi sakkamanajo anajabasam vina dugahe dum tah vyavaharena vina Paramathu Vadesana Masakam. Gujarati translation. Bhasha anarya vinana samaja visakaya anaryane vyavahara vina paramarthano upadesa ema ashakya che. So what he's saying over here, that the first part that we read, these two lines, that is the original writing of Kunkun Swami, what he wrote down in the Ardhamagdi language. That was the language that was predominant into the common man's language at the time. This was done 2000 years back by Kunkun Swami. Then about 1000 years back, Amrit Chandracharya Dev came. He was another very, very intelligent and very deeply knowledgeable saint. And he wrote down this stanza in Sanskrit. Why did he do in Sanskrit? Because 1000 years back, Sanskrit was becoming a lot more homely language, and he wrote down this one in a Sanskrit. The very essence of the Amrit Chandracharya Dev, that he wrote down this stanza, what Kunkun Swami wanted to give the information to the layperson. Kunkun Swami did not give an elaborate explanation, but Amrit Chandracharya Dev, after 1000 years, 2000 years back, Kunkun Swami wrote down. 2500 years back, Mahavir Swami was there. After 500 years of Mahavir Swami's liberation, Kunkun Swami came. Kunkun Swami wrote down, and that was 2000 years back. And after his separation from the body, then Amrit Chandracharya Dev came 1000 years back. He wrote down in Sanskrit. Why I'm making this so long and everything? Amrit Chandracharya Dev's Sanskrit is so extremely high level. There are almost all these pages that we read, whole page full of Sanskrit commentary that he gives, and there won't be full stop. That is his thing. And even non-Jains, they said this is the best Sanskrit one can ever come across. So it's an extremely high level Sanskrit. Why do I know all the things? Because now I decided to learn something. Because right now when this comes, I start to, in the book, I try to avoid this kind of things. But they are the kind of crux of the whole thing. They are the original writing. And everything else is translation by somebody else. So once you understand the Sanskrit, when you read these things, when you listen, when you read and understand what Amrit Chandracharya Dev found out, what Kunkun Swami wanted to convey the message, it is mind-boggling fact. It's amazing facts that we have to that we have come across, and we are so fortunate that all these things are available in front of us, sitting in our home, thousands of miles away from each other. We can talk to each other, we can see each other, we can discuss all these things. That is we are very fortunate that all these things are available to us. Okay, so having said that, we can go to the next slide. So this is the Sanskrit that Amrit Chandracharya wrote down, and if you look at it, there is this line that we see. That is the end of a sentence. That's a period. The period means point is written in this fashion. If you look at it, all the way 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines, and he finishes that sentence. So this is his extraordinary capacity for knowledge that he just presented to us. Now, this is a Gatharth in Gujarati. જેમ અનાર્ય મ્લેચ્છજનને અનાર્ય ભાષા વિના કંઈ પણ વસ્તુનું સ્વરૂપ ગ્રહણ કરાવવા કોઈ સમર્થ નથી, તેમ વ્યવહાર વિના પરમાર્થનો ઉપદેશ કરવા કોઈ સમર્થ નથી. This is Gujarati. Now, this is the same thing Gujarati in the Tika. Tika means the explanation of Amrit Chandracharya Dev, this Sanskrit explanation that we see, that is translated into Gujarati. That's what we are seeing over here. And it just says what is this things about, which we are going to talk further in this stanza. This same thing continues here. And then Bhavarth is a one, Jaichandji Chabda, I think close to about 300 years back, he also wrote down in a kind of nutshell for all of us to understand. So, first, the stanza starts with Utthanika. Utthanika means heading of the stanza. There is a, if this Samaysar is having a great way of presentation, that it just gives the heading of the stanza first. That what I'm going to talk in this stanza. Just like if we just see the articles, like medical article that I'm aware of it, that in the beginning, there is a short synopsis are given that what I'm going to talk in this article. And then detailed explanation comes, and then at the end, conclusion comes. Similarly, this is the thing 2000 years back. It's written all these things. Utthanika is written, heading of the stanza is written, and this is written by Acharya Kunkun Dev. See, this line that we see over here, that's a Utthanika, means it just says what I'm going to talk to you in this stanza. So that way, we just get the flavor that what I'm going to get into it. So heading of the stanza says, once we understand the heading, then we know what we are going to come across in the whole stanza, and ultimately there'll be concluding remarks coming. So in 7th stanza, now we are going back. 7th stanza, it said that even the division of the knowledge, faith, and conduct attributes are conventional point of view. Remember, these words came so much time, conventional point of view, absolute point of view, and I kept on saying that yes, we will talk about it, we will talk about it, not now. Because the 7, 8, 9, 10, 11th stanza will give detail about it. But conventional point of view means, only thing that we have to understand right now, conventional point of view is that 2 ways conventional point of view can be said. Conventional point of view is not the absolute point of view. I'm the soul. That's the absolute point of view. No if, and, or buts. But right now, we are in the conference and somebody says, who are you? To differentiate from one to the other, I will say, I'm Kirit, you are Ketan, you are Kathy, you are Preeti. I'll just give the names, conventional way I will identify you as a soul. From absolute perspective, you are the soul. I'm the soul. But conventional perspective, to continue day-to-day business of my existence, I need to have some kind of identity. My driver license is my identity, for example. But that is not me. It's just a piece of plastic, right? Here it is, same way. My name is Kirit. If I say that, that's a conventional point of view. But if I say, I'm the soul, I'm the eternal soul, I was never born, I will never be disintegrating, and I have all the modifications occurring within me, and one of the modifications occurred right now out of all the infinite modifications in the past. Whatever happened right now, 68 years back, was my human being modification. And when this soul took this physical body and association came, then the birth occurred and the name was given as Kirit. If I give this kind of explanation every day to everybody, they'll put me to the asylum. They'll just say, I lost my mind. So just, who are you? I'm Kirit. Okay, we know it. That's it. So conventional point of view is not the right one, but it's been accused to be identifying a given personality. So there's a conventional point of view. So think like soul and body are two entirely separate things. They came together, became one, and to have this one, which is mixture of both the things, to call as one only, is called conventional point of view. This is the pencil. It is my pencil. I put mindness to this pencil. If my grandchild comes and snatch this one away from me, I become kind of apprehensive because I need this one to write. Because I put my mindness to this pencil. I said, this is mine. This is mine. This is not mine. It just fell down. It did of its own. Tomorrow it can get lost. My life will not come to an end. But so the feeling that this body will be disposed of when soul gets out of this body. And I said, this is my body, this is my body. Oh my God, I have to be very healthy. Oh my God, I have to maintain my blood sugar. Oh my God, I have to maintain my weight. They are for the physical body. I'm not physical body. So, soul and body are one, to consider as one. If the headache occurs, oh my God, I have a headache. You mean the soul gets headache? I've won the lottery. Did the soul win the lottery? It is my house. There's a soul. Soul has a house? No. So all those things are called conventional point of view. Two separate things to be considered as one is called conventional point of view. This is one definition of conventional point of view. What the definition Acharya Kunkun Dev uses over here is a one soul substance. Now we are entering the soul substance. Remember, until now we are talking from outside. We just said, oh, this is matter, this is soul, they got together, and this is conventional point of view. We leave all those things behind. Now we are entering into the kingdom of soul. And here I just say, soul has a knowledge attribute, faith attribute, conduct attribute, etc. Infinite attribute. I consider them in the divisional aspect, even though they are in the indivisible form with the soul substance. So the indivisibility is to be considered with division. That is also called conventional point of view. So 2 points for conventional point of view. Two separate things to be considered as one is a conventional point of view, or one entity which is indivisible to make division in that indivisibility is also called conventional point of view. So in 7th stanza, what did Kunkun Acharya say? That division of knowledge, faith, and conduct, even though they are indivisible form in the soul substance, if one considers them as a divisional point of view, then it's a conventional point of view. Okay, having said that, there's 7th stanza. Now, now the student is a very learned student, and he digested all this thing up to 7th stanza extremely well. And he says, now I'm ready. I understand everything. I understand the reality. I understand what Kunkun Swami wants to say. I understand what Amrit Chandracharya Dev said. And I understood what our Gurudev Sri Kanji Swami also gave elaborate explanation of all these things. I understand this part. So now he says, I have a question. What's the question? If they are conventional point of view, if they are not to be considered, if they are to be made secondary, and only the eternal, the true nature of the soul is to be considered, then why are they described in the scripture? Why are they making my life miserable by me knowing all these things? Knowledge is there. Knowledge is of 5 types: Matignan, Suttagnan, Avdignan, Manaparignan, Kevalgnan. Matignan has 340 subdivisions. Suttagnan is 12 divisions. Avdignan is 4 or 5 divisions are there. Manaparignan 2. Why divisions? Why are you disturbing all these things in scripture if they are only conventional point of view? And conventional point of view, Acharya Kunkun Dev, you told us they are not to be considered, they are to be discarded, they made to be secondary. Then why do you just lay it upon on me for all the scriptures? This stanza is an answer to that question. That why we are talking conventional point of view, even though they are not the true form. Absolute form is only the true form. But we are describing conventional point of view because, and then Kunkun Swami writes us 8 stanza for that. So this is the way the 8th stanza is coming up. This is Utthanika. Utthanika means heading of the stanza, that what am I going to learn in this 8th stanza? The answer to the question why we are talking about conventional point of view when they are not useful to me, they are not useful for me to get samyak darshan, enlightenment, engrossment into the soul substance. Why are you talking about it? So this is the stanza giving answer to that question. Okay. If the absolute point of view is a wholesome and conventional point of view needs to be discarded, then why even to mention them at all? Why don't you go for the real thing? Why you are just fooling around with the surrounding things and everything? Give me the real thing only. That's all I want to know. That's it. I don't want to know anything else. Because absolute point of view is my eternal true nature of the soul substance existing since time infinite, will remain there for time infinite in future, and that is my true nature. I was never created. I will never be destroyed. That's all. That's a wholesome thing for me. And there are infinite attributes, and then the divisions of the attributes are there, then modes are there. Modes are to be made secondary, division of the attributes are to be made secondary, and rest of the thing, the relationship with the alien objects of the universe like body and my thought process and my house, my car, all those things are called conventional point of view. They have to be discussed. So why even to mention them at all? So that's why this stanza is an answer to that question. So what it is, they are taking us from all the way from outside, all the way to the core of the soul substance, and then Kunkun Swami is sitting there trying to answer to us and says, come here, son, you come here. I'll tell you the story. I'll explain to you what is happening, why it is happening to you, and all those things he's talking to us. So this stanza is an answer for those kind of questions. So now we are coming to Gatha, meaning of the stanza. Time of Kunkun Acharya Dev, as we talked already in the beginning, 2000 years back, in the almost 50 AD or something like that. At that time, Kunkun Swami said, remember 2000 years back, he said language is deteriorating. And for that word he used for the deteriorated language, as uncivilized language. It became uncivilized. In the Western countries, people say, oh yeah, Latin is a great language, but it's getting deteriorated because nobody wants to understand that one. Nobody wants to learn that one. So 500 years after Mahavir Swami obtained Nirvana, Acharya Kunkun Dev said that language was deteriorating and language was becoming uncivilized. Anarya Bhasha, uncivilized language. Time of Acharya Amritchandracharya Dev, 1000 years back, he says language further deteriorated. Remember, Kunkun Swami said language was going downhill, and he said it's going further downhill. He used the word barbarian, mlecha bhasha, barbarian language. Now, 2000 years back, Acharya Kunkun Acharya Dev said that language was uncivilized. 1000 years back, Amritchandracharya Dev said it was barbarian. What's the status of that language today? I don't know what word somebody's going to use. But this is what it is, that a language started deteriorating so much. Then, to an uncivilized and barbarian person, things need to be explained in his own language. All of us, we don't understand Sanskrit, for example, right now. And we just talk only. Kunkun Swami comes right now and he starts talking in Sanskrit. Amritchandracharya Dev comes and starts talking in Sanskrit only. How much we are going to understand? As we said, the previous thing, that when the book has a Sanskrit thing comes, we omit that one because we don't know what it is. So if somebody talks to me in my own language, I may understand. But in the thing which is beyond my capacity, if I'm the barbarian person, I'm an uncivilized person, then how the priestly language will help me out? There is a short story comes in the scripture that the two learned saints, somehow they got together. And once they are together, then the ego started clashing. And each one says, I'm the greatest of the great. They both started arguing and arguing and arguing. After several hours of argument, they realized that they are not coming to any conclusion that who is the greatest of the great. So they are wise people also. So they said, wait a second, rather than wasting our time for each of us to argue to and fro, let's have the third person who can decide who is the most learned person. So they were in a field somewhere and there was nobody around, and suddenly they saw one shepherd with the cows. Cows were on the pasture and shepherd was there sitting, doing nothing. So they caught hold of the shepherd guy and said, hey, listen, wait a second. You have to decide among both of us who is the best. The guy said, wait a second, I'm an illiterate person. I know nothing. You guys are learned. Why do you catch hold of me? I have no part of you. They said, no, you have to be judged right now. That's it. He was being forced. So finally, reluctantly, he agreed. And so the first learned saint started talking in the priestly language in Sanskrit. He started talking verses after verses after verses. And whatever he knew, he put it on the plate. And the guy has no idea what it means. And he kept on watching with his wide eye. Did not understand a single thing. After 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes or whatever, now the turn for the next guy came. Next guy says, listen, I'm not going to talk to you much. I'm going to say only one sentence. That literature says, which I know about it, it says, you will be blessed. Swasti. Swasti, you will be blessed by the Lord. That's all he said. I rest my case over here. Now the judgment time came, and the shepherd says, the second guy is one of the best one. Why? Because he talked to me in the language I understood, that he said that peace be with me, bliss will be with me. That's why he's a winner. Because things were presented in his own language that he understood. So to an uncivilized and barbarian person, things need to be explained only in his own language. If he has not learned, not experienced that state, no matter what you talk about it, he won't understand. I'm the soul. Okay? Gurudev Kanji Swami says, Are tane હું આત્મા છું કહું તો તારા રૂવાડા ઉભા થઈ જવા જોઈએ. Means, if Gurudev says that I have experienced a soul, and whenever the things about the soul comes, I get mesmerized. How many times we hear the soul and I'm the soul, I'm the soul. What happened? Nothing happens to me. He has experience. I don't have experience. So that's why I don't get a feeling. So all this thing needs to be explained in my language, in which I have not seen the eternal soul substance. I have not experienced the whole eternal soul substance. But Acharya Bhagwan, Gurudev Sri, wants us to understand that how can we go near the soul by them explaining in our own language. And this is the basis for the 8th stanza that we'll be talking more. I think time is already up, so we'll stop over here. Any questions so far? If there is no question, then we do the closing maybe. जावाणी के ज्ञान से सूझे लोकालोक, सोवाणी मस्तक नमो सदा देत हूँ डोक. 9 times नमो का मंत्र. नमो अरियंतां नमो सिद्धांत नमो आर्यां नमो जाम नमो लोय सोषाणम. नमो अरियंतां नमो सिद्धांत नमो आर्यां नमो जाम नमो लोय सोषाणम. नमो अरियंतां नमो सिद्धांत नमो आर्यां नमो जाम नमो लोय सोषाणम. नमो अरियंतां नमो सिद्धांत नमो आर्यां नमो जाम नमो लोय सोषाणम. नमो अरियंतां नमो सिद्धांत नमो आर्यां नमो जाम नमो लोय सोषाणम. नमो अरियंतां नमो सिद्धांत नमो आर्यां नमो जाम नमो लोय सोषाणम. नमो अरियंतां नमो सिद्धांत नमो आर्यां नमो जाम नमो लोय सोषाणम. नमो अरियंतां नमो सिद्धांत नमो आर्यां नमो जाम नमो लोय सोषाणम. नमो अरियंतां नमो सिद्धांत नमो आर्यां नमो जाम नमो लोय सोषाणम. जय जिनेंद्र. मिच्छामि दुक्कडम. Thanks.
Jai Jirendra, Michami Do.
Thanks, Beta.
Jai Jinendra Bhai.
Jai Jinendra Ben.